This podcast was recorded on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation.
Oh, how I love to be around you.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
Guys, unfortunately, we've got a bit of a sick Jad this week.
No,
but
I'm playing it up. It's not that bad, but I
damn.
definitely don't sound like myself.
I'm fine if you don't talk much. So,
Oh, all good then. You carry the show.
Yeah.
We'll see how interesting it is.
guys, another week of Mad About You. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, we appreciate having you with us. Your ears mostly, and it means a lot that you tune in every week. So, this week on our pod, we are going to have a chat around opposite sex friendships. Now, whether or not they're okay, can they work? Do they ever disrupt your romantic relationships? And questions like whether or not your partner should be able to object to them. So stick around while we figure all that out on the go. And then at the end of the episode, our Ask Mum and Dad segment, we are going to try and help out a girl who's worried about her boyfriend hanging around some bad eggs. So, yeah, an interesting one today. But, Jad, in your experience, like just plain and simple, can girls and guys be friends?
I think yes.
Based on?
I have guy friends and you have girlfriends.
Yeah, but I think that
it's
neither of
circumstantial.
us have a girl or guy friend that's just a solo friend. Would you agree?
Like you hang out with them one-on-one.
Yeah, like I dare say I'm sort of in the boat that
Sure.
might, that could be a slippery slope. I'm not saying that, it's circumstantial and every case is different. And I'm not saying that girls and guys can't be friends, but I'm just simply saying that I can't really think of any girlfriend that I have that you're not also friends with. And I think almost the same for you. You have a few guy friends, like in your group of friends, but I wouldn't say that I don't know any of them. I don't, feel uncomfortable about you being friends with any of them because I know them all, So but I don't think you have any solos, and neither do I.
That's a good question. Do I have any solos? I don't think so. I have friends who I'd go spend time with, but generally, yes, someone else would be there.
And also, I think all your
Most of the time.
you've got plenty of guy mates.
No, not that I wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't, like with my guy friends, go and see them one-on-one. It just doesn't happen anymore, really, like very frequently. I think the last time it happened was literally a few years ago because firstly, you have less time when you have kids, you have less time to go and see your mates. So you actually try to see a bunch of them at once. Like it's not efficient to go and see one person here, one person there. So you try to get a group together and then knock them all down in one go.
But I think also they're old friends, right? Like they're childhood friends, or they're friends
They've been
from
friends since school.
Like you guys have been a big group.
Yeah.
So it's very different. I think that if hypothetically, like you went out now on like a work trip and made a new friend and then started hanging out with them, one-on-one quite regularly, talking quite regularly, like I think that would be quite different than, a friendship group that has guys and girls that you've been friends with for a long time. That's just my take, if you can disagree. But I think that if I went and made a friend who was a girl and then started hanging out with her one-on-one at 32, you would think that was probably a bit strange.
What if we've had this discussion before actually a while ago where we were in a group environment talking about this kind of conversation about whether or not you can be friends with the opposite sex if you're in a relationship. And the whole group basically concluded, this was years ago now, basically concluded that it's weird to make new friends, like new friends of the opposite sex when you're in a relationship. And I coincidentally went into an environment where there was a group of people of which some of them I already knew and some of them I didn't, and became friends with one of them in that environment. It was like a retreat that I was on, and got along with one of the guys who was there, along with a bunch of other people, but he actually visited town when I came back home, and so we caught up for a coffee. And so it was immediately after, not immediately, but soon after we'd had that conversation. And it's funny because before that had happened, I had that perspective. But then afterwards I was like, well, no, it's completely innocent, obviously. Like we were in a group setting, had a lot of fun together as a group of friends, and then just went and caught up for a coffee afterwards to be like, hey, how you going? Blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. Like I feel like it really is circumstantial. It depends on the environment, like how you met. That's kind of important. I wouldn't meet someone at like a coffee shop and then start hanging out with them. Like, I think that would be really weird. But
what if it was a coffee at a retreat? Like, what's the difference? And also,
well,
you're saying that it was an innocent thing, right, between you and this person that you met. But how can you know someone else's intentions? So you know your intentions.
You can say that, but
your intentions might be innocent, but that doesn't necessarily mean the other person's intentions are innocent, because that's often what's going to happen in a different sex, friendship, especially one that gets sparked when someone has a partner, and one party might be more attracted to the other person or want something else, and might know that they have a partner and be okay with, slowly chipping away at them and like seeing what can maybe happen or what they can get away with.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it might seem innocent, but
at the time we both had partners, and the energy that I picked up was not like that at all. So I get what you're saying though. Like, there's technically no way for me to know, really. Like, so I understand what you're saying, but you kind of got to make judgment calls. And like at the same time, it's like if you meet with someone and you have like the same sense of humor and you just like get along like buds, and then you want to just go and have a chat at a cafe, and the environment was completely innocent and like nothing's, I don't know, are you just then going to shut down like potential friendships because of the sake of it, maybe being weird to other people? Do you know what I mean? Do we just then shut down everyone for that reason, because they're just a boy, or because they're just a girl?
Yeah, I'm not an advocate really for either. I think that it is circumstantial. I think if both parties don't, like, perhaps aren't attracted to each other, don't want anything, and it is purely platonic, then it's definitely an option that could work. But I also think that, let's say you made this new friend at 30 or whatever, and you're in a relationship, I think that you almost should invite your partner to be part of the friendship as well. I think that if you start gatekeeping the friendship, and if you want to have
I did at the time.
If you want to have this solo relationship with this person and you don't want your partner to know about it or be a part of it, then I would start to think, like, perhaps that's a little bit,
if you're not inviting your partner to come and meet this person and join, I agree. I think that's strange.
Yeah, but not only meet, I think it's almost like to be like a part of the friendship.
Yeah,
so like,
but that's what happens when you're in a partnership. You just end up hanging out together as a couple with whoever you're both friends with, or whoever either of you is friends with. You're kind of like a partner package deal, right? So like, of course, you've got to get along with the same people if you're always together most of the time.
Do you think that the person matters?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, I think that let's say the roles are reversed. I went on a health retreat.
Yeah.
Met a girl on the retreat. We got along, great sense of humor, and we caught up in this environment, and she was a bombshell. Would that be different to if she was like, looked like a cave troll?
Okay,
would it be different?
Firstly, we don't need to put it like that. But secondly, I get what you're saying. You probably feel more threatened if someone was attractive, right? That's what you're getting at?
I'm asking you. I'm not getting at anything. I'm asking you, does it depend on...
I would probably feel more threatened.
Person?
Yes, I'm not going to lie. If I found the person attractive.
But what if I just tell you it's purely platonic and we just
I would trust you because you're my husband and I love you.
Yeah, but do you understand how then...
Unless you started hanging out every 3 minutes. So okay, what's doing here?
But I'm saying that those feelings are going to arise, right? Because of it doesn't matter how platonic it is.
But that's just like human nature. That's just like animalistic.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Protection of like, I'm feeling threatened in my position as your partner, who I like to think, I'm the hottest person you've ever seen in your whole life.
I didn't say she was hotter than you, this imaginary woman. I just said she was a bombshell.
No, I'm just saying like the threatening feeling. Like that's just human nature, I feel. Like sometimes I even now occasionally get feelings that I know are completely like, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, team. Irrational. Thank you.
You don't need to scream at the microphone.
Sorry. Sometimes I have feelings I know are irrational. I have to like talk myself off a cliff. I'm like, come on, bro, like get out of, this is not something you need to worry about, or, it's this or it's that.
But if you're saying that men and women can be friends and you're an advocate for it, but then you've just said that if they're a certain level of attractiveness, that would make you feel a different way.
I
Does
would
that mean
feel
that
more
there's
friend.
certain parameters around it that you would and wouldn't be okay with it? So like, for example, let's say they're super attractive, but then they also, when I say like, oh, you should meet my partner, she's really lovely. And then they go, I'm not interested. Like I want you like to be my friend. Like I'm interested in hanging out with you. I don't care about meeting your partner. Like, am I then still allowed to be friends with this person?
No, that's weird.
But why? You just said it was okay
Because
for
if
men
you-
and women to be friends.
Yeah, but if you're genuinely friends with someone, why would you not want to meet their partner?
What if she just says, I got enough girlfriends. I don't need a new one. I'm not that interested in having more girlfriends.
You tell her to get effed.
Give me an example of other circumstances where it's okay, not like ones that aren't okay.
Maybe through work.
Okay, so like when people say they have like a work wife or a work husband.
No, you don't need to give them that title.
Well, what if it's just friends? It's just a funny title. It's just a sense of humor thing.
Would you be sweet with me coming home saying, Mum, do you want to come hang out with my work husband and I on Friday night at Ryan's bar?
Well, I would think it would depend on the like my
Wait,
my
sorry,
level
is there
of-
any circumstance where I come home and say I'm hanging out with my work husband where you're okay with that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, there is.
yeah. I'm telling you, there is. It would
Are
depend
you lying to
on
me or yourself?
It would depend on how threatened I was by that person.
Oh, okay.
Well, for example, if it was like a gay colleague of yours who was a bloke
Sure.
but liked blokes and he was your work
But
husband,
that's
then I
different. We're
wouldn't
not
care.
talking about that. We're talking about people of the opposite sex who are interested in your sex.
Yeah, I would think it was weird language, but also if it wasn't that language and you're like, oh, I met this really cool guy at work, I think you'd get along with him. Like he's similar to you, therefore I'm getting along with him. Come meet him. Like I wouldn't have an issue with that, but I would have an issue if you started hanging out with him regularly, for example, one-on-one, and I wasn't kind of like invited to the plans. I would think that was probably like not okay, like, but I would probably feel uncomfortable with it as much as I would like to not be uncomfortable with it. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a jealous person, but I would just say that I feel like I know your intentions and I trust you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I know other people's intentions and trust them.
So, okay, let's just say worst case scenario. You've made a new friend. Or let's just use me as an example. I've made a new friend at work. We've gone out, we've had a drink. He kisses me. That's worst case scenario. I've not kissed him back. I've pushed him away and gone, what the hell, man? What's wrong with you? This is messed up. I'm married. I have a child. We're at Ryan's bar. This is not the place all the
Why are
time.
you doing free advertising for Ryan's bar?
It's just where people would go to do
Okay.
that, I feel.
Yeah.
I come home, I go, look, I thought we had a friendship. I'm really sorry he's done this. I feel horrible. I didn't want it to happen at all. Yucky vibes. Are you mad at me?
Or I would be mad at the scenario, but yeah, I'm not mad at you. You haven't done anything wrong, but at the same time,
But would a part of you question the validity of what I'm saying? Do you think a part of you, if say they were attractive,
I don't understand the question.
if this person was a good-looking person and I said they kissed me,
Yeah.
would a part of you go, is there more to this story that I'm not hearing?
I'm sure things would play in my mind, as in how did you get to a stage where he thought it was all right to kiss you?
Yeah.
So perhaps you.
Oh, I've been
were
to parties where
flirtatious, or
I'm having a
perhaps you were-
conversation with someone 30 seconds in, they start trying to lean in. Trust me, some men do not pick up on any signs whatsoever.
Oh, I haven't.
It happens.
I haven't been in that scenario.
It happens.
Yeah, but I also think it would be more about the aftermath than the initial
Course.
thing. So it would be how you then proceeded with that relationship after the fact.
Yeah.
Because I think there's no way where, I don't know, any person would be okay with you continuing down a path of friendship with that person when they've made their intentions quite clear
Of
that
course.
they don't want to be.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is it becomes this blurry line sometimes where I think that within those realm of where you're a little bit older and you meet someone, just because your intentions might be good intentions and you do just get along platonically as a friend, it doesn't necessarily mean that they feel the same. So whether or not they tell you, like they might tell you like, I see you as a friend and I'm not attracted to you and I don't want anything, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Therefore, like there might always be that little, that gray area between the two of you. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but a lot of romantic relationships start off as friendships. So And I had plenty of people, write in when you asked about people's experiences with this that said that they've like been in multiple relationships where their partner had left them for the, best friend in the, like the third person in the relationship. So there's definitely a possibility and something that people experience. So.
Yeah, but that you can't go into, I think you can't go into every scenario expecting the worst. That's the other thing. It's like, surely at some point you need to just like trust your partner, trust that they are not going to do wrong by you, and that if they've made a new friend, great, happy for you, as long as, within the realm of what we've said is like acceptable. And because if you also don't want to make your partner feel like they're like not allowed to talk to people because they're the opposite sex, or have a friendship with someone who they actually get along with and maybe they just have like a lot in common, or they just laugh a lot when they're together because their sense of humor is exactly the same. So it's tricky. Like you can't go into it just going, oh, well, that person's in love with you.
Yeah, I don't disagree that there's definitely a difference between like control and boundaries.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you shouldn't or can't have boundaries.
Well, I got an interesting DM from someone that I actually wanted to read out, and I wanted to know what you thought as well about this. So someone wrote it and she said, my general boundary is he can only be friends with a woman if she's my good friend or we both know her through a friend group and only hang out in said group. That said, there are no personal relationships with females, no private conversations, no development of a friendship after getting into a relationship with me. Definitely not if it's someone I don't know or if it's someplace I can't see what's going on and being said. I think that's a fair line. He should be content with his male friendships and with me and not need to seek friendships with the opposite gender. Also, if I say I'm uncomfortable, that takes precedence over anything, whether we both know her or she's my friend. If I feel like it's getting somewhere I don't feel is okay, he should respect that. Generally, friendships with the opposite gender shouldn't be a necessity. As soon as it becomes one, it's a problem. You can be co-workers, acquaintances, or chat to them sometimes in extension of me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what she said. I think she said it quite harshly.
Do you
It
actually?
came across quite harshly. Yeah, I agree with some of the stuff she said. What do you mean?
I read that and I thought that
She said that like you can hang out with a girl that's like part of our friendship group. That's literally what we spoke about that we do at the beginning, that we have no real solo male or female
but
friends.
Not if it's where she can't see what's going on and
Oh,
being
I don't-
said,
I don't-
and that you have to be in the group.
I didn't agree
Hang
with
out in a
every,
group
every
only.
single word that she said. But I'm saying that I
There's
understand.
no personal relationships with females or private conversations. You're not allowed to DM your chick friends.
Yeah, as I said, I don't agree with every word that came out of her mouth, but the general crux of how she feels about, like, as I said, she said it quite harshly, which
You can
comes
be
across.
acquaintances.
Yeah, like I talk.
I don't agree with that at all.
I talk to plenty of girls that are our friends, but we're all in a friendship group. I don't really.
But you're not allowed to talk to them one-on-one.
What do you mean? If they're
According
in the
to this
friendship,
message.
if they're in our friendship group,
No, you can only hang in said group.
okay.
There's no private conversations.
It came across a bit differently to me, but if that's the case, then yeah, I feel like you're trying to control your partner a little bit, probably too much. But I'm more talking to the fact that when she spoke about like hanging out as a group with like plenty of females around and males all together is fine, but her partner hanging out with females on his own, she doesn't feel comfortable with. Like, I'm sure that would be a sentiment shared by many people.
If
like,
you
that's
went and
not-
hung out with, bleep name, and had coffee with her, I'm not going to have a problem with that.
that's super different.
But she's saying you can only hang out in a group scenario. That's
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Yeah, but perhaps she's not saying this, but perhaps she means like single women, not like people who are like couples and in relationships and stuff like that.
Okay, also bleep name. If I went and hung out with before he was in a relationship, would you have had a problem with that?
No, I wouldn't, but that doesn't mean that everyone wouldn't. I'm saying.
Okay, that's what
I'm
we're
saying that-
clarifying. I thought you were saying like,
No, I wouldn't have a problem with you hanging out with your childhood friends. That's what we've already spoken about this. It's all circumstantial.
Okay, what about, also bleep name, what about if I went and caught up with
No, I wouldn't care because I think it's about like how I like. First of all, I know him well, so like I have a relationship and friendship. So it's you're asking. I don't really understand the question. I know.
Well, he's not
his
in a group. We're
intentions,
not in
your
a group
intentions.
with him.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with that.
Sure.
It's
if you're familiar, right, with the friendship and you've been around that person and myself already before and you're just like,
Sure.
you just know it, right?
Yeah.
That's what's going to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah, if I
Sure.
appreciate and trust the person and like, you know, I guess know their intentions and they're not trying to do anything shady, then yeah, what do you mean? Hang out with them all you want.
Sure.
But it's like I'm sure that there's if you for example went and met some dude out at a bar or something and then you guys started hanging out, like I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, go and that sounds awesome. Keep doing that. I'll look after our son at home.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Okay. I've got a
seems
question.
like a bit of an odd one.
I've got a question for you. What about like online friends?
Like
Where do you draw the line with, for example, if you're like gaming and you've made friends online? There's a girl, for example, and she's very good looking.
is it you? Are you a gamer?
And you end up someone's gaming in the evenings and this person's on the game and they're on telecommunications.
Are you trying to divulge about an argument that we once had? Is that what you'd like to talk about?
I'd like to know what your stance is.
Oh, okay. I'll just quickly give the listeners who Jadé's trying to get something off her chest from
No,
about
I
8
want you
years
to
ago.
answer the question first.
No, yeah, but I'll give the listeners a bit of context. So in COVID, guys, when I used to play a game online with a few friends on the old PlayStation in the evening, this one night, it was a game where you link up with 3 people. So it's a team game, right?
I'm going to love hearing what
And-
people's responses are
And
to what you have to
myself and a friend of mine were playing, and he was friends with this girl who he invited to play with this game with us. So it was the 3 of us, and we were all on, you know, like we have microphones and stuff, and we're talking. It's like a strategic game, right? And then it came to a point in the night where he was like, okay, I'm going to bed. See you later. And then this girl and I were left on the game together, and we played another game together, just the 2 of us, and we were talking on the game about the game. And then Jadé had an issue with that when the game finished. And
What time
that's
was
what
it?
she was trying
What time was
to
it?
ask me about. I don't know, maybe 10, 11 o'clock.
It was 11 p.m. and I was sitting in our bed waiting for you to come to bed and hang out with me. And I walk in the room and find that he's on a call. He's on a chat with an attractive young woman who I don't know, playing shooting games or whatever the hell it was. And yes, I was very upset at the time.
So that's how Jadé sees it.
So I'd like to know what your stance is.
She sees it
If
as me
I was-
being on a call with
If
her,
I
like we
was
just
gaming, if I was gaming late at night today,
were. Yeah.
and I was on a call alone with an attractive male, would that be appropriate?
To me personally, I wouldn't care.
Oh, you're so full of shit.
But no, I'm
You're
saying
so full of shit.
I wouldn't care. But that's not to say
Yes,
that
you would.
I don't invalidate that if you care that you're allowed to care and you like, you know.
You did at the time.
Yeah, but what do you mean I did at the time?
Oh, well, there's been leaps and bounds since then.
Well, I'm saying if it bothered you, that's fair enough. It's allowed to bother you. But I'm saying it wouldn't necessarily bother me because that's no
I
different.
don't know if I believe that.
That's no different.
I don't know if I believe that. What if I was just on the phone to some random guy talking about something, a common interest, a book I was reading?
But we can skew it as far as we want to.
Yeah, I'm skewing it.
eventually
I'm skewing.
Get
It's
to a
skewed.
point where I'll go,
It's
yeah,
skewed.
that's inappropriate.
We're both playing Animal Crossing. I've called him on my phone because we're internet friends.
and said you've built your
Gone,
farm in
hey,
the wrong
George,
square.
that's a big eggplant you've grown there. What are you saying?
Well, if
At
you-
11 p.m.
Well, if you were trying to talk about eggplants with George at 11, that might be a bit inappropriate.
I don't
but-
know. Your AK-47 chat could have been code.
Yeah. I'm fine with you thinking that's inappropriate and that's a line that you don't want crossed.
So
But
you're
I also-
saying
I think
you're
that-
saying you need to respect what your partner's feelings are in those scenarios.
Well, I think if it's
Because if
like
that's
your,
the case, I think you owe me an apology.
I think if it's your person and you're going to be with this person long term, then obviously their feelings matter more. And also, I'm confused. Did you
I'm
think I was
getting
going
some
to? Did you think I was going to pick this person that I'd never met and spoken to for half an hour over? My
No, I'm
partner?
just getting
confused.
some closure. If I'm being honest,
Oh, okay.
getting a bit of
Holy
closure.
moly!
I've
Jad's
never-
held on to this for. This was honestly, we were living.
Well,
in,
because sorry, at the
about
time you
4
did not
years ago.
acknowledge any of this. There was no, oh well, if you feel like this, it turned into a full blown thing.
Yeah, because at the time I was like, this seems like it's really been blown out of proportion and it's turned into this big thing that's not really a thing. But that's to say that now, me being 5 years older, I can appreciate that you wouldn't have liked that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The
that's
closure,
totally
I
fine.
appreciate this. It's really closed this chapter for me here.
But I still don't.
Sorry, guys,
I
for
s-
using the pod to get a little bit of
Yeah,
dirty laundry.
she didn't tell me she was going to ask that.
Put him on the
Just
spot.
Chuck that in there. I don't care. Just put me on the spot. It's fine.
No, but it's something that I'm sure a lot of couples actually have to confront or deal with at times, is because if you're a gamer, which a lot of people are, you often need to be on comms, right? And sometimes you do develop these online friendships. So like, I know you had a group of people that you played with regularly at one point.
Lucky
Or
they
di-
all had penises. You
couple
didn't have
of
an issue with
different
it.
couple of different groups of people, one being with this person and then another being with just some guys. And yeah, it absolutely felt different when it was this scenario late at night by yourselves, you know. So I think there's definitely
So let's bring it back. You multiple times in that mentioned that they're an attractive person. So
Yeah.
if they weren't an attractive person, you wouldn't have had an issue.
to
with
be
it.
honest, I think I still would have.
Oh,
I just would have been slightly less, but I still would have been like, it's really strange to me that you're doing this late at night. Or at all, really. But late at night made it a bit more like, this feels a bit too intimate.
eerie sus vibes.
Yeah, it was big sus vibes.
Sure. I thought that we could do a little section now where with a couple of almost like just perspectives and scenarios from listeners. And I picked out a few, and they're not like wild stories or anything. They're just like, they're interesting takes and perspectives which open up like, you know, a little talking points. So I thought they'd be, you know, interesting to
Damn,
chat
I was
about.
hoping for some wild stuff.
Sorry, this is not like crazy tea. All right, so it says, my now husband has a female friend who at the beginning of our relationship I did not like at all. Not because she was a girl, but because I didn't know her. My husband and her would catch up for dinner and hang out without me, and I was always on edge when he'd tell me he was seeing her. However, once our relationship progressed and the female friend and I got to know one another, we've actually formed a really nice friendship. My husband and I have been together for 9 years, married for 3, and have a 4-month-old little boy. And I feel the key to having friends of the opposite sex while in relationships is to have not had a sexual past with them or any attraction. My husband and this girl have always just been friends, and back in the day he reassured me that there was even no chemistry then. Knowing your male partner is still close friends with a girl who he's previously been intimate with is another story entirely, and just so hard to be okay with, in my opinion, regardless of trust. And I think that that's how those relationships should work, if I'm being honest. You know, like you have he had that relationship perhaps with this woman before he even met his partner. And then when she was like, oh, I don't feel a bit weird about this, like uncomfortable, he was like, oh, well, come and hang out with us. And
Yes.
he wasn't trying to gatekeep the relationship and have this like,
No.
you know, girl best friend on the side and then his relationship with his wife. He had brought them all into it and now they're really good friends. And I'm sure that that's a fun environment to be around because, you know, you now all get to hang out together, you know, and I think that's a great one.
And you've made a new friend.
Yeah. And I tend to agree with the intimacy thing as well. You know, I think it would be, you know, it would be pretty weird to, you know, stay friends or your partner be okay with you staying friends with someone that you'd been, you know, previously intimate with. So, yeah, I think that that sounds like a pretty healthy scenario in my opinion. And then, I think I probably feel pretty similar about it.
Yeah, but you don't often hear, right, of just like a one-on-one friend that has remained after someone's gotten into a relationship, I feel.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like a close boy-girl friendship that's then continued when someone's, usually it's kind of like you get into a relationship and maybe that kind of drifts a little bit.
Yeah. And I did have someone actually whose DM I read, which was that exact thing. They said, I have plenty of guy friends, but as soon as they get into relationships with girls, I sort of back off a bit because it's just like a respect thing.
Yeah.
And she said that they also do. It's not like they try and keep the, you know, the strong bond while they have a relationship. So, yeah, I think that like perhaps people probably feel a certain way about it, even if they don't really want to, you know, talk about it. But yeah, that might be an interesting take. Would you like to read the second one, my love?
Sure. This person wrote in and said, I don't believe couples should have opposite sex friendships. As a woman, I can literally fall in love with a personality even if I'm repulsed by someone physically. Sorry, babe, can't relate. Forming a tight bond like a platonic soulmate could so easily turn into more, and I just don't see why it should be risked. Marriage and long-term relationships are like plants. You get out what you put in, and if you're watering other men, your plant may dry up. From a male perspective, I know you guys are a lot more physical, and weirdly, I don't actually care if my husband finds other people attractive, but I would hate to see him form emotional ties to another woman. That's interesting.
Thoughts?
Wow.
Why do you think that's interesting? What makes that interesting?
I don't know. I can't relate.
To the simple attractive thing?
Being attracted to just anyone.
Sure.
I'm like, what?
But let's say it's not
sorry.
the first thing that you see with someone. Let's say you see someone and they're not super attractive. They're not your normal cup of tea. But then as you get to know them, they're fantastic personality, fantastic banter, and so you have that. They pull
That's a
you
friendship.
in with attraction.
That's
But
literally
I'm saying
friendship.
I'm saying I'm sure you could be attracted to someone that's not like your pinnacle person if they exuded all these other amazing traits.
Yeah, I don't know. What's a friendship if not just chemistry with your personalities that you're not attracted to? Is that not what a friendship is? So it's like you could say that about literally anyone in the world. You're not going to be friends with any girls either because you're worried if you water the plants, you're going to make out with them.
No, did you understand what she was saying?
Yes, I do.
She was saying it's a slippery slope for her, for example. And
Yes.
and if her, probably
well,
many
then
others.
she knows her own boundaries. That's good.
Because she...
I'm not worried about
The
that.
reason why I thought this one was actually super interesting is because I think it's actually something that I've listened to with other podcasts about like evolutionary psychology with men and women, and that more women are fearful of that exact thing, right? Which is she has said that she'd be worried if her man was like felt connected to someone else.
Sure.
Right? And women are normally more weary and scared about their partner sleeping with someone else.
Right.
Sorry. Men are more worried about their partner sleeping with someone else. And that's because like through the ages of, being humans is that men are worried, if your partner sleeps with someone else, they don't know who, potentially if your partner gets pregnant, they don't know whose kid it is biologically, right? And women are fearful that if men fall for another woman and feel connected like emotionally to them, that they're going to run away with them and go look after that woman instead of her and her children and offspring. So it's like this weird thing. So when she actually wrote that, I was like, that's so interesting that she feels this exact, concept that I've learnt about. And I thought that was actually a really interesting thing.
It's like Ragnar and Lagertha and that chick.
Yeah, elaborate.
What was her name?
Aslog.
Slog. Guys, if you haven't seen Vikings, it's a bloody good show. Anyway, Ragnar runs off with Princess Slog or whatever she is, and then she falls pregnant, and Lagertha ends up, they try to have a threesome relationship. Doesn't work very well. Lagertha leaves. Sorry, spoiler alert. Anyway, that's what you kind of...
Not sure of the relevance there, but it is a good show. She's not lying. All right, our next scenario says, I love that my boyfriend has a girl best friend. I think it's really helpful because she provides female perspectives on issues sometimes, more when we weren't dating, so he has a good understanding of how it is to be a girl. Therefore, in our relationship, he is more protective in different scenarios or has shown a more emotional side because his friend had shared her experience with things like this. I'm really lucky because his girl best friend is the sweetest girl ever and she is now one of my friends. We chat and I invite her to things because I have mad respect for her. I could imagine if she was jealous of me though, it would be different. But she welcomes me as much as I do her. I love when they go out together without me because I know she will offer him good support and he's a good listener and she may need that. I have a guy best friend too and my partner doesn't seem to mind. We go out, just the two of us, and have deep combos and go out and party. My partner and I have a mutual unspoken understanding.
That's nice but rare. And to be honest, listening to that, I felt a little bit like, no, not for me.
Not for you.
It sounded too good to be true.
Yeah, this is what Jadé always has these perspectives, and then I can somehow get it.
You don't have a girl best friend you hang out with one-on-one. If you did, I'd be like, what's she got that I don't? Huh?
Yeah, but I also think that when you have...
I'm just joking.
When you're in a partnership, like I appreciate that she goes, yeah, it's nice. And I don't disagree that it of course would offer a different perspective, right? Like,
but also
friends with
especially if,
girls
sorry, can I just say, interject very quickly, if a man doesn't have female siblings or close, other female relationships, that's actually really good to have that, I feel. because they provide, like she said, the insight that you might not have otherwise.
Yeah, it is vastly
And it
different.
means that she doesn't have to tell him, you know, the perspective that is being told through someone else. It's nice little break.
And I
for
think
her.
male friendships are probably very, very different to female friendships. I think that, you know, for example, me and my mates, like when we get together, it's often like we're just trying to have a laugh. We're good-naturedly ribbing each other. We're not often too serious. We're rarely talking about our feelings, you know. And,
That's
and
not
that's
true.
That's not.
You always talk to your friends about your feelings. Oh, sorry.
Well,
They
have
talk to
you
you.
tapped our phone calls?
They
or-
talk to you about you don't talk about your feelings to anyone.
I wouldn't say it's regular. I'd say it's quite irregular.
Really?
Yeah, but I would
I
say.
feel like you guys have really nice open stream of communication compared to other people.
Oh, maybe one of my friends who's more open about that stuff, but definitely not all of my friends, and not regularly. Whereas I would say that
I think your best
female
friends-
friendships are probably a little bit different, where you guys are probably a little bit more emotionally vulnerable with each other, and you open up and you
Well,
share a
women
lot
are just more emotionally vulnerable in general.
Yeah, emotionally vulnerable with each other. Means,
Everyone
like,
has
you
the
let
same
each
amount of
other in.
emotions. We're just willing to chat about it because we know it's going to help us. Whereas you guys go, I'm just going to bury this deep down. It's going to become an issue in 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, but that's why I think that that female and male relationships differ, right? Because male relationships are a certain way, and then if you mix the two, you have, normally someone who's more emotionally, available. You could even say mature, who's open to talk about feelings, and then maybe a guy has that opportunity to start doing that with someone, And our final scenario, which I thought was a little bit interesting and a little bit different, which definitely gives a different perspective, is following. It says, I was freshly starting a long-distance relationship and met a new friend back home around the same time. The friend and I talked every day, and he had made it quite clear he was interested in more, but I had said I could only be friends, nothing more, due to being in a relationship. I knew that I was attracted to the friend, but out of respect for the relationship, we kept our conversation and activity friendly. A couple of months down the track, long-distance boyfriend saw us texting whilst he was visiting and blew up, demanding that I stop communication as he knew the friend had other intentions. I stopped talking to the friend for 2 months but felt really off-put by the control. We ended up meeting again at a mutual friend's party, and it really made me feel like I was with the wrong person. Long story short, the friend and I have now been together for over 7 years and married for 1, with our first baby on the way.
Okay, well. I mean, the person who was feeling jealous obviously had a right to be.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's... and when she said it was control, I don't think it's control if he is aware of this other man's intentions towards you.
because
and
the
you're still
intentions were
entertaining
correct.
those intentions, and he's just saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable about that. That's not really control. That's like a very valid place to be as a partner.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if the roles were reversed, you would have felt the exact same about him hanging out with a woman who was trying to get into his pants.
I think you didn't feel right about the control because you secretly wanted to be with this other person.
Yeah, which is totally fine.
Fair
I'm
enough.
glad you found your person. That's fantastic. But yeah, it seems like a few things within that were probably done in maybe not the most, I don't know, morally sound way. Like if you're aware that this person wants more than a friendship, I don't think maybe it's right to continue being friends with them because you're aware that their
Yeah.
intentions aren't the same
Or
as yours.
break it off with your partner.
Yeah,
Pick one.
there's one of the two, but this is like an interesting point.
That's kind of like emotional cheating, right?
Well, I think if someone comes forward to you in a friendship and goes, hey, I'm in love with you, or hey, I can't help but tell you I'm so attracted to you, I really want to turn this physical, like friendship's not enough. If you don't want that, I think it's almost weird to continue the friendship,
It
right?
is a
Because
bit.
that's not a friendship.
It goes from being friends to you're entertaining.
Yeah,
something.
they're lusting after you, especially if you have a partner. I think it's even
Yeah.
more inappropriate.
Yeah.
So if you've told your partner that that's what happened or it has been happening, and then he sees you still talking, I think he has every right to be a little bit, concerned or upset about it. So
Well, glad you got your happy ending, those.
yeah, good on you and good on you guys. But yeah, those
Sad
listening,
ending for the guy that you long term.
yeah,
I mean, long distance relationship.
he'll be all right.
You reckon?
He'll figure it out.
That would make me
He
sad.
sounded like he was all right.
You know what? It would be so validating though, going like, I don't trust this, and then they end up together, and you're like, I knew it.
Yeah, and I dare say that would be hard to come back from. You'd probably, I think once that
No,
happened,
I think I'd feel validated, and then vengeful.
Nice. Our Ask Mum and Dad this week says, my boyfriend's friends are really different to him, personality and activity-wise. The activity was in inverted commas. His friends like to go out, drink, and do drugs. The drinking is not an issue for me, but the drugs are, but he doesn't do them. However, a few of his friends cheat on their partners. He has told me about it, but he hasn't told their girlfriends and just brushes it off and says it's not his business. I'm not sure how concerned I should be with the fact that these guys are people that my boyfriend calls his friends. I've had the conversation with him about cheating, and he's very firm on the fact that he 100% disagrees with what they're doing and would never. But at the same time, I'm confused as to why you would want to go out with your friends who just cheat on their partners. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I'd find that difficult too. Because your friends say a lot about you in your character. And you're a makeup of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Did you need it? You've got your hand in front of you. Did you need to count the 5 on your hand?
I just wanted to emphasize.
Yeah, I think it is a really interesting one, and I would definitely feel uncomfortable with that as well. And I've been in a similar situation actually once, and it did tarnish the friendship a little bit. But with this scenario, it is weird because you would hope and want that your partner, obviously is a better moral person, has a better moral compass than his friends. But that being said, if my friends were all doing that, I'm not sure that I would want to be friends with them. It sounds weird. As much as you have like history and, it's like birds of a feather flock together, right? So if they have the capacity to do that and your boyfriend, he doesn't really care, like, he'll tell you that I'm not okay with it. I don't want to be a part of it. Obviously he's going to tell you that even if he is perhaps being a part of it. But yeah, it seems like a bit of a weird one. And I went through something similar-ish. It wasn't direct cheating, so I didn't, but I had a friend and he was dating this girl who I was also friends with. I thought was a lovely girl. And so that's probably why it impacted me even more. And we were out one night, I think it was like a friend's bucks or something, and he was being like unbelievably flirty with another girl and like touching her leg and inappropriately touching her waist and all these things. And I sort of pulled him up on it, and I was like, well, you got a partner. This is like, what you're doing is not okay. And I said, I'm sure if she was out doing the same thing, you'd be livid. So like, why do you think it's okay for you to do, sort of thing? And we had the brief conversation on the night and then a conversation about it after the fact, because I think he obviously just like brushed it off and thought it was like a nonchalant thing, and I kind of really had an issue with it, and it has affected our friendship ever since. So I can understand that your partner might be like apprehensive about maybe scared to lose bringing his friends. Bringing it up with his friends, knowing that like they might brush him if he's the only one that's like not getting amongst it, and
it's really hard.
He might be shunned from the group even if
friends
he
and
brings it up.
Yeah, now it's gotten to a point where they're older and these people have this behaviour that he doesn't agree with, but he doesn't have any other friends and he's just feeling a bit trapped in the situation. It's tricky, but it is also equally concerning. Like, I feel that I would find it really uncomfortable if you were doing that with your friends on the weekend.
Well, every time you he says to you, I'm going to hang out with these friends, that would be in the back of your mind that this could be the night or the day that he's tempted to do the same, or his friends coerce him into doing the same,
but the
or
things
peer pressure.
The things that you see regularly kind of become normal to you as well. So it's like you'd slowly desensitize to that and you'd go, well,
That's
it's just
point.
a kiss, or it's just a that, like hasn't affected their relationship, or maybe they've had a fight about it and they're still together, so all good. So it's like, then it comes from that angle of like, is he then getting used to that and thinks that that's just normal because his friends do it so much that he feels like it is. So it's a really, 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 really tricky one.
The thing is, you could go and tell the guy's girlfriends because you have the information, but obviously that would be like shitting on your partner's trust.
That's not her place, unfortunately, but I don't know whose place it is.
So
really.
you're saying that there's a place where girl code doesn't exist then?
I don't know whose place it is. I don't want to be in that place.
Yeah, that's actually a really yucky scenario.
No one wants to be a home wrecker, but if you're giving someone honest details about, I don't know, it's weird.
I
used to be very much for like, tell everyone exactly what's going on. Be honest, yeah, it's going to upset people, but like you should always tell people if you know that something is happening to them that's, that they wouldn't, that would affect them a lot, that they'd want to know about.
Right.
But the older I get, the more I'm like,
just bury your head under the sand.
well, a lot of people stay with cheaters.
Yeah, but I
right?
think that you need to have all the
you've
information.
tarnished a friendship or relationship yourself for no bloody reason. Maybe they already know.
Yeah, but then maybe you'll live a less, guilt-ridden life if you're the person who's honest
but
and
it's
speaks
like-
the truth.
Yeah, but I found myself in scenarios where I put I was putting myself out there to try to help people, and then I was always the one that was burnt. So now I'm a bit like, maybe it's not my responsibility to go around helping people all the time.
Fair. It's an unbelievably tricky situation, and I don't know. I would say you're very safe to tell your boyfriend that it makes you feel uncomfortable him hanging out with people that are very morally skewed.
Can't you go see them during the day? Go get a burger.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I guess you could tell him that you don't feel comfortable with him. I don't know, participating in certain activities with them when they're drinking and doing drugs and acting in a certain way. But yeah, it is. Yeah, I
get a
honestly,
coffee.
I don't know how to really kick you in the right direction in this one.
Let us know what you do, because we've
got no advice for you, but let us know what you do.
Have we ever not had advice?
Well, yeah, my advice would be to go tell the girlfriends, leave a little secret note.
Is that actually your advice?
Yeah, stuff the guy's cheating on you.
I think he should be honest with his
I'm
friends.
more girl code
I think
than
he
you.
needs to tell his friends that what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah, and what if he does that and they go, cool, Johnny, bugger off then, don't come.
And sorry, get new friends, because they're not your friends, are they? If my friend told me I was doing something wrong, I wouldn't drop them. I'd go, oh, actually, I really value your opinion and maybe there's some truth to what you're saying.
Sounds like this is a bit more of a toxic group than
Yeah.
a appreciative one like that. But yeah, I'm sorry we don't have more for you on this one. I wish we
Sorry.
did, but if
Love
you
you.
if you do come up with something yourself or you try something and you chat to
If
your
anyone
partner,
else
let
has
us know.
advice, please leave
Yeah,
it.
leave it in the comments for this
comments.
lovely lady who can we can maybe help her as a community here. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's all we have for you this week, guys. We appreciate you listening to us as always. And if you did want to give us your hot take on opposite sex relationships, feel free to do so in the comments. And if you felt like you're enjoying the podcast, we would love if you left a review. It means a lot to us, and we will chat to you next week.
See ya.
Bye.